Jai. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Kim. I think it's 4416. You can just check out your phone. 16. 4416. Kim. Va. Shivakyam. Ashivam. Na. Vidus. Tvat. Anye. Brahmadaya Tam Apakriya Jataha Samashane Tanmalya Bhashma Nirkapala Avasat Visache Ye Murdhabhi Dati Tat Charana Avarashtrastam Kim Vasivakyam Ashivim Navidustvadane Brahmadayastam Avikriya Jatasmashane Tanmalya Bhashmam Nikapalya Avasta Pishache Ye Murdhavir Dati Tat Charana Avrashtam Kim Vashivakyam Ashivam Navidustvadane
Kimva Shivakyam Shivam Vidustvadane
Brahmadayastam avikriya jata smashane
Brahmadayastam Avikriya Jata Smashane
Tanmalya bhashvam nikapalya avastha pishache
Tanmalya Vashma Nikapalya Vashatsache
Ye murta vidati tachacharana avrishtam
Ye Mudha Vedadati Tachana Vashastam
You got the wine now. You got the wine right today. But now it's Nikapalya Avasha. No yesterday. Nikapalya Avasha. No. You better than that. Nikapalya Avasha. The A is already there. Avasha. Y goes with that A. That'd be your head.
Kim vasivakyam avisham ashivam na vidustvadane
Kimva Shivakyam Shivam Vidustvadane
Brahmadayastam avikriya jata smashane
Brahmadayastam Avikriya Jata Smashane
Tanmalya bhashma nikapal avastha pishache
Tanmalya Vashma Nikapalya Vashatsache
Ye murta vidati tachacharana avrishtam
Ye Mudha Vedadati Tachana Vashastam
Well, 90% on that. But this time you just dropped the Y. This time you just dropped out the Y. So you got the right number of syllables, but the Y disappears. So you know how it is in Sanskrit in Devanagari. There's no space, that's all written together. So it should just stick it together in the transliteration also. Nikapal Yavasha. You can think of the Y as being disconnected from the word it's in and connected to the next word. Not grammatically, but in terms of sense. Let's hear that one word, those two words. Let's hear those two words. Yes, no. Let's give me those two words.
Nikapalya vash
Yes.
Kimva Shivakyam Ashivam Navidustvaranye
Kimva Shivakyam Shivam Vidustvadane
Brahmadayastam Avikriya Jata Samsane
Brahmadayastam Avikriya Jata Smashane
Tanmalya Bhashma Nikapala Avasat Pisacher
Tanmalya Vashma Nikapalya Vashatsache
Ye Murabhirdadati Tapchana Vishtam
Ye Mudha Vedadati Tachana Vashastam
Kimva
Weather
Shivakyam named Shiva
Ashivam
inauspicious
Naviduhu
do not know
Twatanye
other than you
Brahma
Brahma and others
Tam
him or Shiva
Avakriya Avakriya Scattered Jataha
having twisted hair
Samshane
in the crematorium Tatmalya Bhasma Nikapali who is garlanded with human skulls
whose
whose
garland
garland
is
is
skulls,
with skulls,
and smeared with ashes,
and smeared with ashes,
avasat,
Avasat,
associated,
associated,
Pishachihi,
Sakshihi,
with demons,
with demons,
Ye, who, Urdhabihi, with the head, Dadati, place.
Do you think that greater, more respectable personalities than you, such as Lord Brahma, do not know this inauspicious person who goes under the name of Lord Shiva? He associates with the demons in the crematorium. His locks of hair are scattered all over his body. He's garlanded with human skulls and smeared with ashes from the crematorium. But in spite of all these inauspicious qualities, great personalities like Brahma honor him by accepting the flowers offered to his lotus feet and placing them with great respect on their heads. Purport. It is useless to condemn a great personality like Lord Shiva, and this is being stated by his wife, Sati, to establish the supremacy of her husband. First, she said, "You call Lord Shiva inauspicious because he associates with demons and crematoriums, covers his body with the ashes of the dead, and garlands himself with the skulls of human beings. You've shown so many defects, but you do not know that his position is always transcendental. Although he appears inauspicious, why do personalities like Brahma respect the dust of his lotus feet and place on their heads with great respect those very garlands which are condemned by you? Since Sati was a chaste woman and the wife of Lord Shiva, it was her duty to establish the elevated position of Lord Shiva, not only by sentiment, but by facts. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living entity. This is the conclusion of Vedic scriptures. He is neither on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nor on the level of the ordinary living entities. Brahma is in almost all cases an ordinary living entity. Sometimes, when there's no ordinary living entity available, the post of Brahma is occupied by an expansion of Lord Vishnu. But generally, this post is occupied by a greatly pious living entity within this universe. Thus, Lord Shiva's position is constitutionally higher than that of Lord Brahma, although Lord Shiva appeared as the son of Brahma. Here it is mentioned that even personalities like Brahma accept the so-called inauspicious flowers and the dust of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. Great sages like Marichi, Atri, Prithu, and the others among the 9 great sages who are descendants of Brahma also respect Lord Shiva in such a way because they all know that Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living entity. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Bhagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Shavagana Lulita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krisha Panu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Kim va Shivakyam Hashivam Navidus Tvaranye Brahmadayastam Avakirya Jatas Mashane Tan Malya Bhasvam Nrikapalya Vashachayam Ye Murtabhir Tatati Touch Charanavasrishta. So Sati is speaking to her father, Lord Daksha, who has insulted Lord Shiva. He's derided Lord Shiva. Oh, he's filthy, he's dirty, he associates with hobgoblins and inauspicious creatures. He smears himself with dust of crematoriums where he hangs out. He wears garlands of bones and skulls. And somehow I was induced to give my daughter to this person. So in this way, he derides Lord Shiva. So Sati replies, Kim va Shivakyam Ashivam Navidu Twadanyat. Do you think that no one but you knows how inauspicious Lord Shiva is? Are you in on a big secret? You're the one who spotted it? You've seen that Lord Shiva is so inauspicious, no one else gets it? Lord Brahma, Brahmadaya, Lord Brahma, all of his sages born of Brahma, none of them see what you see? You're so eagle-eyed? In this way, Ashivam, only you see how inauspicious Lord Shiva is. In this way, she criticizes. Srila Prabhupada explains that Lord Shiva is not one of the ordinary living beings. Ordinary living beings means Jiva Shakti. There's Maya Shakti, Jiva Shakti, then Antaranga Shakti, the internal potency, different energies. So we're also the energy, marginal energy of Krishna. Even Lord Brahma, belongs to the marginal energy of Krishna. On some occasions, if there's no marginal living entity fit for the post, Lord Vishnu takes it himself. But generally, Brahma is one of the jivas, he's the most qualified jiva of the universe, most pious, most advanced. He takes the post of Brahma. And it's said that if one perfectly executes prescribed duties for 100 births, one can take the post of Brahma. But Lord Shiva's position is above that of Brahma because he's not one of the jiva souls. He's a particular manifestation of Krishna for creating the material universe. So he's neither a jiva nor the Supreme Personality. He's in his own special position. Almost in the position of Vishnu. But not quite, because Lord Vishnu is never in touch with the material energy. And Lord Shiva is always in touch with the material energy, married to the material energy. So the Shastras describe that by some touch of Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun, Lord Shiva's a little bit affected. Shriramyata tadhivikara vishesha yoga sanjayate nahitata pritagasti heto yasam bhutam apitata samupaiti karja govindamani purusham tamaham. Srila Prabhupada will explain later the special position of Lord Shiva in this regard. But I wanted to pick up a little bit of commentary from Srila Sanatana Goswami about Lord Shiva's position. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Lord Brahma, speaking to Narad Muni, glorifies Lord Shiva. Yas jas Sri Krishna pada ja rasenon madita sada avadhirita sarvartha paramaisharya bhogaga. Lord Shiva is always intoxicated by the taste found at Sri Krishna's lotus feet. He therefore has no interest in any of the normal goals of life, even up to rulership of the universe and the sense enjoyment such rulership provides. Asmadrisho vishayino bhoga saktan asanniva dusturar kasti maladrik nagno pasman lepana. As if ridiculing materialists like me, who are simply addicted to sense enjoyment. He goes around naked, wearing garlands of tustuda, arka, and bones, and smeared all over with ashes. Tustuda is an intoxicating weed. So an aristocratic person, he'll be garlanded, he'll be wearing a fancy kurta, and he'll be garlanded with a first-class garland, and he'll be like a king, turban and all of that, some pearls in his turban. And here's Lord Shiva wandering around naked, wearing a garland of bones and weeds and smeared with ashes, as if to say, "Pah, what use is my weeds and ashes are better than your turban and fancy garland. Because your fancy stuff is all for sense enjoyment. So rejected. Better to go around naked and wear weeds and be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Viprakirna jata para unmatta iva gurdate tata sugopanasakta Krishna padabja shochajam gangam gurni vahan harshan Nrityamscha layate jagat. He moves around aimlessly like a madman, yet he's unable to conceal his glories. With joy, he carries on his head the Ganga, born from the water that washed Krishna's lotus feet. When he dances, he destroys the universe. In commentary, Lord Shiva rejects with disdain the ambitions of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. He has no desire to be an independent controller and enjoyer. The satisfaction others derive from worldly pursuits and the achievement of supremacy does not attract him. He identifies himself fully as a servant of Krishna. In Lord Shiva's view, demigods like Brahma and Indra are addicted to sense enjoyment. Their celestial garlands, ornaments, and perfumes last only a short time and so leave them dissatisfied. Better than the decorations of the demigods are his own garlands made of bones and intoxicating weeds, which at least cause no disappointment when they decay. These strange ornaments, Lord Shiva thinks, are no less substantial than Indra's and Brahma's divine garlands. These are only Lord Shiva's external decorations. His real ornament and his real enjoyment are found in the mercy of Sri Krishna. Humbly thinking himself bereft of that mercy, he feels fit to wear weeds and bones. With such ideas in mind, the great Lord Shiva conducts himself in his own peculiar way. There's more, but if you read Bhāgavatam, you'll get more. There's more in Prabhupada's purport, so continue there. In many Puranas, it is sometimes asserted that a demigod is elevated to such a high position that he is almost on an equal level with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the conclusion that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead is confirmed in every scripture. Lord Shiva is described in the Brahma Samhita to be like curd or yogurt. Curd is not different from milk. Since milk is transformed into curd in India, usually say curd, or we'd say yogurt. Since milk is transformed into curd, in one sense, curd is also milk. Similarly, Lord Shiva is in one sense the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in another sense, he's not. Just as curd is milk, although we have to distinguish between the two. These descriptions are in the Vedic literature. Whenever we find that a demigod occupies a position apparently more elevated than that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's just to draw the devotee's attention to that particular demigod. It is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita that if one wants to worship a particular demigod, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is sitting in everyone's heart, gives one greater and greater attachment for that demigod, so that one may be elevated to the demigod's abode. Yanti Deva Vrata Deva. By worshiping demigods, one can elevate himself to the abodes of the demigods. Similarly, by worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can be elevated to the spiritual kingdom. This is stated in different places in Vedic literature. Here, Lord Shiva is praised by Sati, partially due to her personal respect for Lord Shiva, since he is her husband, and partially due to his exalted position, which exceeds that of ordinary living entities, even Lord Brahma. So Srila Prabhupada explains the position of Lord Shiva from that verse of Brahma Samhita. Yogurt is milk. If you read the label on the yogurt container, it'll say milk solids, da, 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 and then whatever else they've put into it, some curdling agent, some sour thing, and then whatever, by sodium, blah, blah, whatever else, benzoate, whatever. But it's milk. Yogurt is milk. But because it's turned by some agent, now it's not milk. So it's milk, but it's not milk. Milk is the source of the yogurt, and from milk you can get curd, you can get anything else, any other milk product. But from yogurt you can't do that. Yogurt is yogurt, it doesn't turn back into milk. But from milk you can get everything. So milk is the original, and the yogurt is the slightly adulterated or transformed product of the milk. But that product is also still milk. So that's Lord Shiva's position. He's, as we discussed, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead almost. Almost because he's in touch with the material energy and therefore turned the way yogurt is milk turned. So we'd say, if we were talking about the living entities, Lord Shiva is closer to the personality of Godhead than to the living entity. If you had to put him in a category, Supreme Personality of Godhead would be the closer category than Jiva, living entity. He's almost the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even one of the 10 offenses in chanting the holy names is to think that Lord Shiva is separate from the Supreme Personality of God. Here, sometimes we find that the demigods are glorified as being almost the same as God, or even superior sometimes to God. There's a holy place in South India, Rameshwaram, and there Lord Krishna worshipped, Lord Ram worshipped Lord Shiva. So then it's taken, Rameshwara, Ram, who's the Ishvara of sorry, Lord Shiva, who's the Ishvara of Rama Ishvara. That's how Lord Shiva's devotees take it. But the Vaishnavas take it, Rama Ishvara, Rama, who's the Ishvara of Lord Shiva, who's the controller even of Lord Shiva. In the Bhagavad Gita, yo yo yam yam tanam bhakta shraddhayarchitam ishchasi tasya tasya chalam shraddham mayaiva vihitam hitam. Krishna says, if somebody wants to worship some demigod, then from within his heart, I make his faith steady so that he can do it. Achalam shraddham, so he develops a strong faith. Yo yo yam yam tanam bhakta shraddhayarchitam ishchasi tasya tasya chalam shraddham tamena vididhamyaham satya shraddhaya yuktas tasya radhanamiyate labhate chatata kahaman mayaiva vihitahanita. So the devotee worships his chosen demigod and he gets the results and he thinks this is good, everything's in the right place. But he doesn't know that the results that he's getting actually come from me. When we worship Krishna, it's not the same. It's not that to worship Krishna, you need faith from within your heart given by some third party. Some other God has to be there to give you faith in Krishna. Krishna himself is there. And if Krishna gives you something, he doesn't depend on any other demigod to provide it. He personally can provide. What is that? Yoga Kshema Vahamya. I personally carry what my devotees need. So just to encourage the devotee, because better to worship a demigod than to be on your own. At least when we worship the demigod, we acknowledge higher authority. So that's better. Not best, but better. So the encouragement is given in Vedic literature. If you want this, worship this. If you want that, different demigods. But the most intelligent person just engages in the service of Krishna. Position of Lord Shiva is accepted by Lord Brahma. So Daksha, Sati's father, should also recognize him. That was the point of Sati's statements. She did not actually come to her father's house to participate in the function, although before coming she pleaded with her husband that she wanted to see her sisters and her mother. That was a plea only. For actually at heart, she maintained the idea that she would convince her father, Daksha, that it was useless to continue being envious of Lord Shiva. That was her main purpose. When she was unable to convince her father, she gave up the body he had given her, as will be seen in the following verses. So sometimes, for example, we go home for Christmas, we visit our relatives, and our purpose is not to get a Christmas dinner or to, have the social company of our relatives. Purpose is just we're thinking, maybe I can give them some books, maybe I can persuade them something of Krishna consciousness. And often we're disappointed, they don't see it the way we see it. But of course, we shouldn't give up our bodies on that account. But we should give up the bodily identification. This is my mother, this is my father, these are my children, these are my brothers. And that may be there externally, but because we're not this body, those relationships are not intrinsic to our real identity. Externally, we have all of these relationships for some time, but time will finish them all. Then I'll get a new mother, a new father, a new set of relatives, along with the new body. So here, Sati is continuing to refute the foolish statements of her father, the offensive statements of her father, Daksha. And we'll see how matters progress. Any questions, comments? Yes? Mhm.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. So my question is, in this section we're seeing Sati is very boldly criticizing Daksha, and because she can't tolerate the fact that Daksha has made offenses against Lord Shiva. And a lot of times, Vaishnavas were trying to become free from the tendency to criticize others. But also sometimes when we ignore faults that we see, when we ignore faults that we see, it can compromise our honesty. So if we're trying to situate ourselves in truth, and we see something that is untruthful or that is potentially offensive to Krishna or to Krishna's devotees, what responsibility do we have to say something about it or do something about it like Sati is doing? And to what level should we hold ourselves back?
Well, to what extent, if Krishna is criticized, or Vaishnavas are criticized, do we respond? Generally, we respond. There was a court case here in New York back in 19, and it was one of those, I forget what it was, maybe we were blocking traffic or something, or stuff. Or maybe it was something more serious, I forget now. But one of the lawyers just made some insulting comment about Krishna. I don't remember the comment, typical lawyer stuff, made some insulting comment about Krishna. So one of my godbrothers, Nandakishore, just blasted him. He was on the witness stand. So he just blasted him. He wasn't usually a great speaker, but he got inspired and just took out the lawyer. And Prabhupada was very pleased. You shouldn't tolerate when Krishna or Krishna's devotees are aimed. And we read earlier that either we defeat the person or cut out his tongue, which is not much of an option these days, or we hold our ears and flee. We don't sit there and say, yeah, I have my point of view, you have your point of view. No, we don't. Don't take that route. Okay. Of course, how you respond, we may blast the lawyer, you may not automatically blast your father or your mother. We have to consider other variables. But still, this injunction is there. There was some Prabhupada in New York one time, had to visit the Indian consulate for some business. And he was talking with the consul. And Prabhupada really spoke very strongly with him. As a preacher, speak very strongly. I don't remember exactly, but the usual, you're wasting your life, why should we be fools, and so on. Prabhupada spoke very, very, very strongly. And then after leaving the consulate, Prabhupada remarked to the devotee who was with him, Kirtiraj Das, he said, speak like that because I am old man. Because I'm an old man, the etiquette is he has to respect me. So in essence, I can get away with that. But you should not. That it's not a response, we just copy it and it'll be the right response. So we have to think carefully. We should not be timid. Yes. Or compromising.
Two different examples come to mind. One, not remembering, but I'll ask as a question. Is it later in the chapter, Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva that they're already dead by sense gratification, so therefore you should be merciful? And of course, that was Lord Nityananda's argument to stop Lord Chaitanya from invoking his Sudarshan Chakra and Jagai and Mara. If you kill them, you have to kill everybody in this age.
Yeah, I see. So we shouldn't kill blasphemers, that's your point. Yeah. Apart from the trouble you get into, we'll let Krishna deal with them. Yes. Something else?
Maharaj, my question is, we see that Daksha is blaspheming Lord Shiva because he thinks what he's doing in that moment is right.
Because he thinks
As he's blaspheming Lord Shiva, that he's right. Like he's right for blaspheming. He's valid.
He thinks he's right in blaspheming Lord Shiva. Yes.
And Sati is telling him, like, going off that he is wrong for blaspheming Shiva. But Daksha doesn't believe he's wrong for doing that. As a Vaishnava, when we encounter as a Vaishnava, when we encounter these
Loud
as
and
a
distinct.
As a Vaishnava, when we encounter people that represent Lord Daksha in the material world, should we even try to express that, or we should just walk away?
When we meet the Dakshas in this world, should we try to convince them or walk away?
Like Sati.
Like Sati. Well, Sati gave up her body. We don't recommend that you try that. But we have to consider, generally the recommendation is Prema Maitri Kripopeksha. A devotee he should have love for Krishna. He should have friendship with the devotees. He should be merciful to those who are innocent. And the envious he should avoid. In this way, he does good to all four. Well, not good to all four, we don't have to do good for the Lord. But he does a favor to the envious by avoiding them. If we give them the opportunity, they take pleasure in being provocative and being, what's the word? Irreverent. You know, it's like they show their stuff, their expertise in throwing out insults, their expertise in showing how rational they are, and how foolish you are, and how all this Krishna stuff is just rubbish. And that's how they get their pleasure. So better to leave them alone so that they won't commit offenses. No use talking to them. Also, it wastes your time. If you're distributing books or doing something in devotional service, to waste your time with those people is not good. And it provokes them to be more offensive, and it's not good for us to hear. The best thing is we'll just avoid them. Is that okay? Became angry. Furious, not just angry, furious.
No, Maharaj, my question was when Bhrigu Muni.
Your question was?
My question was when Bhrigu Muni offended Lord Shiva. At that time, he got offended, and he got angry.
No. If I have the history right, Bhrigu Muni offended Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva became angry after Sati killed herself. Till that point, he didn't get angry at Bhrigu or any of them. All right, foolishly, like a crazy man, like a patient in a mental hospital who gets angry at them, they're just crazy. So he didn't get angry at Bhrigu, he didn't get angry at Daksha, but when it came to the point that they drove Sati to suicide, then he became angry. Am I right? Is that the history? Okay.
Ended up kicking Vishnu in the chest.
Oh.
I think he's speaking about that pastime instead.
Oh,
Where he goes to Brahma and then Shiva.
Okay,
He's
well,
going
give
to
a
see-
context and it helps, We're talking about the Daksha Yajna and you're bringing something up from, cantos later, and I'm supposed to get the connection. Yes. Lord Shiva didn't respond very well to being insulted in that occasion. That's, of course, these things are arranged as part of Krishna's pastimes. Otherwise, Lord Shiva can be so tolerant. He tolerates Parvati touching his genitals to agitate him for sex. Of course, anger is harder to control. He didn't succumb to sex desire, but he became so angry that he burnt Cupid to ashes by his glance. So, anger isn't always, what's the word, consistent. The person may sometimes get angry, sometimes ignore. So at the Daksha Yajna, he ignored, but later he got angry. And with Bhrigu Muni, he got angry right away. He doesn't have to behave consistently to fit our textbook.
Maharaj.
Anything else? No, we're over time. We can stop here. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna